What's up, guys? Welcome back to SunnySide Sports. We've taken a little break. I've been out of town the last couple weekends. We've been busy, so haven't really had a lot of time for the show. But we're back in action today. We've missed a lot in the last couple weeks. Liam, you want to get us started?
Yeah, so last time we had this podcast, we were in a lot better mood. WVU was 3-1, about to go into Fort Worth. And we had high hopes for that game, which we did win. We had a bye week, and since the bye week, the team's fallen apart a bit.
Yeah.
The defense that we'd leaned on so heavily through the first 4 games really started to fall apart. So much for the picture. Going else on TV. The run game that we'd been leaning on as well to dominate time of possession, which was a big part of the wins, especially when we had Nico Marchiol at quarterback. He wasn't throwing the ball super well. That started to peter out a bit. The injuries that we sustained at TCU are rearing their head. Missing Aubrey Burks was really apparent against Houston. Missing Trey Lathan was very apparent last week against Oklahoma State. And so now the Mountaineers sit with their season seriously in jeopardy. And they are on the road, at the Bounce House in Orlando, against a UCF team that does not have a win in conference play. So for this episode, we're gonna briefly go over the last 2 games, sort of what we've seen gone wrong, and we're gonna jump pretty quickly into our game preview for this week's matchup. We're gonna go over facts and stats about the matchup, the usual spiel. Our keys to the game. Then we're going to switch it up a little bit because tonight WVU basketball tips off at their charity exhibition game. It is finally basketball season after one of the craziest off seasons I've ever seen for any team. We're going to look at the roster. We're going to look at what we're going to be watching for. Landon, you going to the game?
I am.
I'll be at the game as well. Tip off at 7. Probably on ESPN+. Then we are going to do our usual SunnySide Sportsbook, and we're going to round it out with some NFL trade machine. So we've come up with some trades that we'd like to see happen before the trade deadline here at the 30th, and we're going to discuss how realistic they are. All right. Sorry if I sound like crap today. I've sounded horrible all week. All right. So, Landon, in a sentence, what do you think's gone wrong for the Mountaineers over the last 2 weeks?
Defensive scheming. That's my takeaway from these last couple weeks. We have let up a total of 48 against Oklahoma State, and then that Houston game, 52 was it? 49.
Oh yeah.
52. I mean, we've let up almost approximately 100 points in 2 weeks of football, which, I mean, we don't have Dana Holgerson head coach anymore. We can't. I mean, we're not scoring 60 every game, so something's got to give. Our front 7 coming into the season was
41. We have 41 against Houston.
41 against Houston,
which was more than we gave up against.
Penn
I'm not counting Penn State because, but more than we gave up against. What did we give up? 13, 19, 17. It's more than we gave up in our first 3 games combined, if I'm not dumb. 20, 30, 60. Oh, yeah. That's more than we gave up in our first 3 games combined.
So, rough times for the defense here at West Virginia University. Still, promising season ahead. We're over 500. We did not expect that coming into this year. Some places online, specifically Instagram, looking at you, Big Game Boomer, predicted us a ceiling of 3-9 with a floor of 1-11.
I'm definitely with you that I'm not sold on the complete negativity of this team right now.
It's a young team. We're not losing.
For what it's worth, I don't. Even before the Houston game, I thought that we would lose the Oklahoma State game and probably win 3 of the last 3 of the last 5 or 4 of the last 5. After the Houston game, that didn't change. I still thought we would lose Oklahoma State because of the way they were playing.
Yeah.
And so now that we have lost Oklahoma State, it still hasn't changed my outlook on the season. But going into this week's game against UCF, I do have a couple reasons to be worried. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But looking ahead at our schedule, UCF don't have a conference win. BYU at home, we should be able to win. I don't have much faith of us going into Oklahoma. But Cincinnati at home, who aren't any good, and Baylor away, who aren't any good. So, this team is going to be bowling. I know the Houston loss still stings, and it stings, and it's not just that we lost; it's the manner in which we did. It was completely self-inflicted in both games. Yeah. The Houston game, we were probably the better team, but we didn't capitalize in the first half. All season and throughout Neil Brown's tenure, we've failed to go up. We failed to take advantage when we had a chance to go up 2 scores, to go 3 scores. I saw something that we've only ever been up 21-0. In one game under Neil Brown, and I was against Long Island. We went down to Duquesne.
We were actually, I think we were down to Long Island at one point. I think first play of the game they had a 100-yard kick.
We went up 21-0.
I think it was 21-7.
Maybe
28-7.
Defense has gone from giving up, realistically 31 against Penn State, but 17 against Duquesne, 6 against Pitt, 13 against Texas Tech, 21 against TCU. Not giving up 41 and 48. We're scoring more, but we're also giving up more. The team they don't look like the same team that went 4-1. That team was very pragmatic. The team was very dominate time of possession. We weren't scoring much, but we were running the ball a lot. We were keeping the ball. We were keeping their offense off the ball.
The team that played TCU and the team that played Houston, or even Oklahoma State, are 2 completely different teams. Mm-hmm. You just look at how much we ran the ball against TCU. Like we were much more run heavy against TCU than these last 2 games. Garrett Green has had about 800 passing yards in the last 2 weeks, if I had to say.
Probably around 700. I think he hit like 397, and then he had like 2. How many did he have last week? Probably 280, maybe.
Probably plus another 75 yards a game of rushing. Which I would have never expected us to be in this situation.
And I think that's something that's really hard to explain when you look at WVU, because all of a sudden our offense has on paper gotten a lot better. We're throwing for hundreds of yards, we're putting up 30 plus points, and yet the team is doing worse. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. And I think it's the fact that we've changed how the team plays, and whether that is a result of just adapting to our injuries. We've had injuries on the O-line. We've had injuries in defense. C.J. Donaldson hasn't been playing as good as we'd like him to see. We've had our backs injured. Justin Johnson's first healthy game was last week. Jaheim White's hurt. C.J. struggled with some issues. Jalen Anderson, we didn't see him last week. But I want to attempt to explain why something that I think is sort of explaining why, even though our passing game looks better on paper and we're scoring more points, the team is doing worse. So, Garrett Green currently has the most yards per completion in the Big 12.
Really?
He has the most yards per completion in the Big 12. And if you watch our games, it makes sense, right? We've had drives that have stalled out only for a long passing touchdown. You go ahead and think 3rd and 10 or whatever, deep pass to Garrett Green or to Devin Carter last week. Think flea flicker to Traylon Ray. Think deep pass to E.J. Horton. Think when we were playing catch up in the deep bomb to Preston Fox. Garrett Green's actually been very good at these deep balls when he completes it. Against Houston, on 4th and 10.
Yeah.
But the reason that that's become an issue is that's hard to sustain, and that's hard to rely on when you need it. Garrett Green's completion percentage for most of these games hangs around 50%.
Really?
So he's got the most yards per completion, which means that when he is completing passes, they're going deep. But if you watch him play, he and the offense in general really, really struggle in the short to mid-range passing game. He doesn't have great touch on the ball. The receivers don't have a lot of separation anyways. But the gap in the ability to throw the ball short is what is, in my opinion, explaining why, even though we're getting all these yards, and even though we're getting all these deep bombs, and even though he's got the best yards per completion in the Big 12, we're still struggling because missing one or the inability to have a short range passing game is stalling drives. Right? Think of first drive last week. 3rd and short, and he misses the guy outside.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing. I think that was our third or fourth. At every game but one, which I forget which game it was. Every game but one or two, we've punted on our first possession, and we have punted on our first possession, and in 3 of those games we've gone 3 and out, which puts us in a hole immediately. Now, luckily, at the start of the year, we were doing that, right? We punted first against Texas Tech, we punted first against Pitt, and the defense came able to stop.
Yeah.
But last week that didn't happen. We got ourselves in a 10-point hole that we did drag ourselves out of. But I think that short-range passing game is what's hurting us getting into those holes. And the reason that I think that hurts especially is because teams are really, really starting to stack the box against us. They're thinking, if we can stop the run, then their pass game isn't consistent enough to keep up over a long stretch. Now, it's okay if you don't have a short game, if you have a good run game, you have a good deep game, and you have a defense. The last 2 games, we've missed that last part. We haven't had the defense, and so we're getting into shootouts where we're relying on big plays to keep up. Luckily, we've been getting those, and if I'm being honest, I think we'll get them tomorrow. UCF's defense has been the worst in the Big 12. Their pass defense isn't bad. Their run defense is atrocious, but we'll get into that. So that's my 2 cents on the offense. But I will say, Neil Brown's play calling's been pretty good.
Yeah, I think Neil Brown's pretty much secured his job.
We'll get into that. I disagree, but I think his play calling over the last 2 days has not been bad. It wasn't great against Oklahoma State. There were some things I saw that I didn't love.
I think if we win 2 more games, it secures his job for sure.
You think 6-6 secures his job?
With the
buyout he has?
With the buyout he has, yeah, and a win over Pitt, a respectable outing over Penn State. Still, I mean, we don't have a lot of guys graduating. Our quarterback room's going to stay the same. Running back room's going to stay the same. Wide receiver room's going to stay pretty much the same.
Yeah, except Devin Carter, but, he pulls Winston right in. I don't know.
I mean, pretty much our entire offensive line, other than Zach Frazier staying. I think Doug Nestor's a junior. White Milam's a junior.
Are they? I'll look.
But I think we have a positive future with this team, in my opinion.
I love. God, I can't talk. I love that. I love this team a lot. I like the fire that they play with. I like that they don't have any quit. I think a lot of that has to do with Garrett Green being at the helm.
There's a lot of in-state guys on this team, which
a lot of in-state guys who are playing well, particularly on offense.
There's some on defense. One guy I really like on defense, Sean Martin.
From Martin, Bluefield,
West Virginia.
I did not know he was from Bluefield. I was looking at the roster.
Great defensive lineman. I mean, he won us the TCU game.
Oh yeah.
He came up with stop after stop after stop whenever we've needed it most. It's just impressive what he's doing, and it's finally good to see some in-state guys contributing to our state university.
Yeah. Preston Fox has been good over the last couple days. Clement, obviously.
As much as we have shit on Preston Fox,
he's played well.
As much as we
my issue with Preston Fox was never Preston Fox. It was the way they were using him.
Yeah,
they were forcing him the ball. Yeah, he just wasn't.
He's a slot, middle of the field.
Yeah,
catch
he
it and
proved
run
3 really good receptions a game. We were targeting him like 6, 7. We were forcing him the ball when he really didn't need to get the ball.
One thing with the coaching though, our offensive personnel has gotten a little suspect these last couple weeks, specifically wide receiver groups. At some points we'll have Preston Fox. Granted, they're not on the team anymore. Jeremiah and Aaron and Cortez Braham, and we've had that kind of like, I don't want to say low tier, but they're lower on the depth chart, and we don't really have a big playmaker out there. So I feel like we kind of need to balance when guys are getting rest, when fresh legs are coming in, and kind of have a really good skill guy on the field at all times, whether it's Cole Taylor, whether it's Devin Carter, whether it's CJ, which CJ has not gotten a lot of play time as of recently. It's kind of weird. He's like, I think his snap percentage has gone down to 60%, I think.
Yeah. I wish they'd involve him more in the passing game. He came here as a tight end.
Yeah, he had 1,200 yards as a senior, as a tight end at Miami.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will say, I like that we got, ever since we got rid of Braham and Aaron, our wide receiver core's been better.
Yeah.
Horton's better.
Horton's much better. Horton's
improved a lot just over the course of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, you're seeing that speed that they brought him in for. Horton being the transfer out of Marshall, number 13 wide receiver. Carter stepping up. Clement stepping up. Preston Fox is playing better. It's just Aaron and Braham, and like credit to them for coming here, right? But they weren't really offering much. Everyone else kind of has a role at least.
Yeah.
Carter's your one guy, Clement's your two guy, Cole Taylor's your big target with some athleticism. Preston Fox is your slot guy. Horton's your deep threat.
Gallagher's your speed guy.
Yeah, Gallagher's a speed guy. Those other guys weren't really offering much. Yeah. So, I guess in a nutshell, that's sort of what's kind of gone wrong for us.
Yeah.
But I still think there's things to be hopeful for this team, right? I mean, we could be sitting here at 5-2, and when we sit here at 5-2, right? You bat down to Hail Mary, you're 5-2. You sit here at this point, and we're like, wow, we're still having a really good season. Like, yeah, we dropped last game. There's some things we need to fix, but it's not been that bad.
Yeah.
There's some very, very slim margins.
Speaking of Hail Mary, last night's Thursday night football game.
Oh, yeah.
Baker Mayfield almost pulled it off. 60-yard
touchdown.
That was
a great Hail Mary. They just didn't catch it.
Chris Godwin was a yard away
Chris Godwin just wasn't paying attention. Yeah.
A lot of... Love to see a good Hail Mary every now and then, just not against the old Mountaineers.
Yeah.
Green's been playing great, though.
Yeah, Green's been playing very well. I'd like to see his completion percentage go up a little bit. I'd like to see him complete short-range passes more. I think part of that is not just dropping him straight back in the pocket, like getting him on some designed rollouts.
Yeah.
Where he gets the outside with his speed. He has to make a linebacker make a choice whether you're going to step up or dump it off. Right? I mean, he's been okay in the pocket, but he's still a little small. Most of his good throws out of the pocket have been like standing there for a little bit, then getting out and getting deep.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't sit in the pocket too well and just pick apart a defense. So, I wish we had better usage of our personnel. And I think they've been getting better at that over the last couple games. I think especially Houston, I wouldn't be too hard on the coach for because of the way that they came back. It takes some spirit to come back like that. And the play calling on it was right.
I mean, we were down 2 possessions with 3 minutes left.
But yeah, Oklahoma State, I think you can a little more, and we'll get into Neil Brown later, sort of his assessment at this point. But yeah, we've got a game this weekend. It's a winnable game. I think the 7-point underdog is a little bit harsh. I will say this. If you only look at Big 12 play, the 4 games that we've won in Big 12 play, we're 2-2, right? 2 games we've won, we were both underdogs.
Yep.
The 2 games we lost, we were both favorites. So, we should win, right?
WVU sports always play better as underdogs.
Oh, yeah, they always play better.
What it is about it, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, anything, we always play better as an underdog. Why don't I get into the keys to success?
You want to get into them? Okay. Well, tell you what. Let me run over a little stat sheet about UCF. Then I want to get your keys for the game. So, UCF currently sits at 3-4. They won their opening 3 games. They have not won in Big 12 play. They're coming off a tough, close loss where they almost beat Oklahoma at home. Questionable calls in that game. Maybe that game goes the other way. UCF have a win, but they're 0-4 in conference play, so they're desperately looking for their first win. Their offense has been exciting, and they've been hitting the big play. They have the 8th and 10th most explosive players in the country, if you count most explosive by most yards per reception. They have an explosive run game that can break off with big plays. They've got a dual-threat quarterback, which we saw against Houston we really struggled with. We struggled with that even going back to last year and Jalen Daniels at Kansas. Jalen Daniels at Kansas. They run the highest percent of play action in the country.
I think that might kill us.
They run the high, yeah. It's about, it's like half their pass plays are play action. On the defensive side of the ball, their corner, Brandon Atkins, I can't even read my own handwriting. One of their corners actually has the best pass completion rate in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
Best as in
lowest completion percentage when targeting him. So they have one pretty elite corner, but they have far and away so far the worst defense in the country. And a massive, massive part of that is their run defense.
Yeah.
They've been horrible at defending the run. So, they're desperate for their first win. We obviously gave Houston their first win. A lot of people are taking that route that, we gave Houston their first win. We're going to go and give UCF their first win. First of all, it was a Hail Mary. We didn't hand it to them. Yeah. We played bad, but we didn't hand it to them. Anyways, that's what I've got on UCF. I think you're going to key in on that explosive offense. This is going to be a game that's going to have a lot of points. UCF are going to put points up. Watch out for that play action. Watch for their receivers to break deep, and watch for their quarterback.
You kind of hit everything hit every nail I was going to cover on the head. UCF's EPA of their rushing attack. EPA is a stat that's kind of been used as of late. It's an advanced metric. It's expected points per attempt. Let me make sure. EPA. Expected points added.
Yeah.
So that's per play. So this is how many points are added per play. Their EPA for rushing is 7th in the nation among college, which is they're the 7th best rushing attack according to EPA stats. They're the 32nd best passing offense when it comes to EPA stats.
And that's going to be 32 out of 126?
126, I think.
Wow, so 8th best rushing attack, and we're coming off a week where we gave up about 240 yards against the run.
Their EPA for pass is 0.144. Their EPA for rush is 0.035. 0.035 is a very high EPA for rushing. Huge. And their quarterback, their quarterback is very athletic. John Reese Plumlee, he's made a comeback.
Oh yeah,
he's kept them in some games. I mean, we saw that Baylor game a couple weeks ago. He kept them in that game until the very end. Granted, Baylor won.
Sorry, we didn't give up 240 rushing yards. We gave up 230. We gave up 291 rushing yards to Olive Gordon. Almost 300 yards.
That's insane. But yeah, their EPA is very high when it comes to their offense. They're a very pass-heavy team, but they can run it. Their offense is just one of the better ones in the Big 12. We saw against Oklahoma, they stayed in that game. They only lost by about 2 points. They're averaging 500 yards per game. Let me pull it up here. Yards per game. Yeah, the UCF offense is 7th in the country when it comes to yards per game. 500 yards a game on the dot, according to this report. But keys to success, I have 3 of them. We have to match their offense. We can't play catch up like we did these last couple games. It hasn't worked out for us. We've kind of figured out that playing catch up at all this year is not going to work out for us. Whether it's Houston, Penn State, Oklahoma State, it's just not going to work. We can't rely on our offense that much to get big chunk plays without causing a turnover. We have to convert early. That's my second key to the game. Converting on downs early, converting on 2nd and 3rd down. We can't rely on converting 3rd and 4th. We have to convert earlier in the downs. 3rd and final key to success is our front 7. We're going to have to stay on our blocks, get past them, get to the quarterback, get to the running back, disrupt some plays so we can force turnovers, force punts, get the ball back. Because, I think time of possession is going to be a very valuable stat in this game because their defense is not good at all.
Yeah, that's something that we had one pick last week, but we turned around and gave them the ball right back.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten the takeaways that I'd like for us to get this season. Yeah, we just haven't gotten the takeaways that we really should be getting this season.
We've had a lot of drop picks. That's another thing. We've had about,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Probably 5 or 6 total drop picks, whether it be against. I think there were games there were games we won. I think there were 2 dropped against Oklahoma State. I think Lee Koba and someone else ran into each other, if I'm not mistaken.
We might have had more than that last week. We had a lot of drop picks last week.
Also,
and that's what I'm saying. It's all these little things that just add up. Dropping picks, bad turnovers.
We were very disciplined to start the season.
Yeah, that discipline's gone out the window.
I think we had 3 total flags against Pitt, and 2 of them were on White Milam.
Yeah.
And we had probably around 10 or more. Let's look it up.
Probably.
WVU.
Yeah. Our discipline's gone out the window, and that's discipline and penalties. I mean, how many penalties did we rack up against? We had a lot of penalties last week. Had
Team
penalties
stats.
Against Houston that just killed us. Penalties that we hadn't been getting all season.
55 yards worth of penalties against us, against Oklahoma State.
Yeah. But also just turnovers. Like, Green's pick, I don't know what he was looking at. I mean, it happens, and he responded well from it, but...
Against Houston, we had 8 for 84. I mean, you can't do that.
I mean, that's
a drive. That's a very large drive.
Oh, yeah, that's an entire drive. 8 for 84. And to bounce off of that, Cole Taylor's fumble, that 10-point lead that they jumped out to was off of 2 turnovers. And then muffing the punt when we had a chance to go up 2 scores.
Yeah,
we've been driving.
It wasn't muffing. I still think that should have been a flag on them. They kind of pushed Andrew Wilson lane.
I don't think it was enough for a foul.
I don't know. It could have gone either way. I'm a little biased, obviously.
He was sure shooting at somebody that called a fair catch.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
That's all my keys to the game, though.
I hit on some of the same points you did. We have to get back to dominating time of possession. And the way that you dominate time of possession is run game. Run game, run game, run game. I'll say it all day tomorrow, run game. We have to establish a run game. And that's not because we've been struggling to throw the ball. So we've been struggling to run the ball.
Yeah.
CJ's been looking a little bit nervous as a runner.
He's
not a running back by trade. He's a running back because they just started giving him the ball last year. I don't know what went into the decision moving the running back, but he's not a running back by trade. Part of me wishes that they'd kind of let him run some routes more. Yeah. Let him still be kind of a combo guy. Justin Jefferson looked good last week. Jaheim White's looked good in spurts, but
Justin Jefferson?
Not Justin Jefferson. Justin Johnson. Not Justin Jefferson. Justin Johnson. Justin Johnson looked good last week. Jaheim White's looked good in spurts, but I don't know if he's not performing at practice. I don't know why he's not getting the snaps, but clearly there's something that the coaches see that we aren't as to why. I mean, maybe I'm giving our coaching staff way too much credit, but yeah. CJ had 13 carries. Justin Johnson had 14 carries. CJ put up 40 yards. Justin Johnson put up 77, so 5.1 versus 3.0. I think Donaldson's average for the year is about 3.9. No, I don't even think it's that much. I think it's like 3.5.
That's not very good at all,
no.
Is it?
Part of that's been our run blocking. Our offensive line's been pretty good in pass coverage, but in run blocking they haven't been great.
We do not let we don't let up a lot of sacks.
No, we don't let up a lot of sacks, but I mean, how often have you seen a running back get a wide open hole? You know, not very often. And some of that CJ's running. But we need to run the ball. This should be a good week to get him back on his feet against a pretty poor rush defense. I'd also like to see them using Green more in the design run, actually letting him run the RPOs, getting multiple backs in the backfield, letting him make decisions, and playing to our strengths. I mean, we had a game against Texas Tech. Nico, who's not even a great runner, he was our leading rusher against Texas Tech.
Yep.
And then, as we said, hit on the big play when it's there. You know, you can run it, hit on the big play. And for what it's worth, that's what they're going to try and do. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball. They've been good at running the ball. They're going to hit the play action, find one of their two explosive guys deep. So this is going to turn into a shootout. So they will score, and they will score a lot. We can't make stupid mistakes on offense to give them possessions. That's dumb picks, dumb fumbles, penalties that stall drives, missing short throws, bad runs. I'd like to see us try and establish a short game. And my big key for defense is going to be interrupting their game plans. Their offense has an identity.
Yep.
They run the ball. They run the play action. They hit their explosive guys. Our job on defense is going to have to be throwing them off script because we're struggling with injuries on defense. Our linebacker room's pretty thin. Let's go over the injury reports. So just hitting on our defense, we know Lathan's out for the year.
Yep.
Burks will be back. Burks was back last game. Was Burks back last game?
Yeah, he was. Kind of a quiet night for him.
Jared Bartlett will be active. Linebacker Gyro Fabregas, I don't know how you say his name, but he was the one who kind of slotted in, took over some of the role when Lathan was out. He's also out. So now our linebacker room is very, very thin.
So we have Cutter.
Our defensive back, Hershey McLaurin, he's out.
Jeez.
So our plan for defense is not going to be so much to stuff them as it is going to be to throw them off their game. So how do you throw a team off their game? Well, we've got to stop the early down. A big part of the reason that we were so good, we had one of the best third down defenses in the country first half of the year, is that we were stopping them on first and second down. Teams were facing us on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, even 3rd and 5. Now they're in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. We can't bite on the play action. I know that they're going to want to run the ball, but it's important that we don't bite on the play action. And then throw them off script with if you can get a sack on an early down, if they try to throw a screen, you bat it down. Anything that can throw them off script where they have to change what they're doing is going to give us a shot at defense.
Yeah.
They're still, if you win this game, your season's back in a much more favorable position. Which, brings me to my next point. While we're talking about injuries, I would like to say Hudson Clement's doubtful. So we probably won't see Clement, which leaves Horton, Ray, Carter, Cole Taylor, which means Cole Taylor's going to have to pick it up. Preston Fox. He hasn't been super involved in the last couple weeks,
maybe
outside of the deep pass against Houston. So I don't think it'll be a huge miss, but that is a weapon for the offense that's lost. Anyways, I think we're going to go into this week, and I think Brown's coaching for his job this week. Which brings me to my question for you, which is, we sit at 4-3. Games left are UCF, Oklahoma, BYU, Cincinnati, and Baylor. For you, sitting at a $12 million buyout, which might be affordable with the right donations, certainly not cheap, but not the $20 million that we were staring at last season. What keeps Neil's job and what doesn't? And this is not based off of what you thought at the start of the year, because I think we all thought that our schedule was going to be much tougher than it was, and it's not. I'd say we played two good teams.
I'd agree with that.
We played Penn State. We played Oklahoma State. We've lost to those two good teams. We've beaten everybody we should, apart from Houston.
TCU was pretty good.
But I will say, over the course of a season, you typically lose one game to a team, at least one game to a team you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Everybody does. Left on this schedule should be 4 games that you win. Should be. But we are going into one of those games that should be a must-win, and we are underdogs by 7 points. So what, in your opinion, keeps Neil's job? Is it 4 wins, 3, 2?
I'm gonna, instead of going from 6-6 like I did earlier, I don't think it's as simple as a record. I think it's how your team is viewed overall. I think if Neil keys back in his defense and wins 2 to 3 out of the next 5, I think he keeps his job.
I think there's some concern over, and I'll sort of play both sides of it, keeping Neil because this team is young and this team has potential, and you're worried about losing guys. And I get that. And they've shown some potential together, and next year you would return most of your receiver core. You would return most of your team. But, on the flip side, if you do bring in a new coach, who are you worried about losing? Garrett Green?
Nico?
Nico? I mean, realistically, like, are these guys that... I'm not convinced that these are guys that you make a coaching decision around keeping. The talent on the team, under the Neil Brown era, has consistently not been very good. Do we really think that if we bring in somebody that they can't find a quarterback that's on Garrett Green's level, that they can't find a wide receiver that's on Hudson Clement's level, that they can't find a defensive back that's on Beanie Bishop's level? Like, I'm not convinced that, like, I mean, sure, you lose Nico. Maybe you do lose Nico, maybe, but, in the time that we've seen him, he wasn't bad, but he didn't look like something that was irreplaceable.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm not so convinced by that argument anymore, and I'm not convinced that they would even leave. I don't think Garrett Green leaves if Neil Brown goes. I don't think Hudson Clement leaves. But even if you do, who are you really that worried about losing? Gallagher? I mean, that's probably one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's barely gotten the ball this season, and when he has, he's done okay with it. I don't know. I'm not so... I think at this point, you're in year 5, so everyone's a Neil Brown guy. And I will say, he's had it tougher than I think a lot of coaches had. He came in and there was nothing here. There was no talent. He had to deal with a couple of years of being under Shane Lyons, who wanted nothing to do with NIL. But at this point, he's got his quarterback. He had a quarterback last year. He's got the talent on the team. At this point, these are his recruits. And we just aren't seeing the product. I think 8 wins keeps his job. All right? Mm-hmm. You sit at 4-3. You win 4 out of these next 5. You go bowling. I think you keep your job. You win 2 out of these. 6-6. You sneak into some crappy goal game and get blown out by an SEC team. He loses it. 7-5, I think, depends now on whether that 7-5 comes from scraping past 3 teams or if it comes from changing the way we play. If we see actual improvement and you get to 7-5 and you go to a bowl game and you win it, I think maybe you could keep it. I think after the TCU game, if you told me 7-5, 7 keep his job, I'd say the conversation's tough, but I'd probably lean on the yes side. But it seems like we've reverted to a lot of the mistakes that we made last year and a lot of the mistakes we made in the Daggy years. So for me right now, 7-5 doesn't keep his job. Not with this week's schedule. Not with the personnel. Not with the decisions. But I think at 7 wins, that conversation becomes tough. And I think you start talking about things like whether we can afford it. You start talking about, like, well, who are we going to bring in that's better? And we're going to have a segment later in the season on coaching changes, particularly if this game goes south. Candidates. But I think the conversation gets really hard at 7 wins.
Yeah.
You want to give a score prediction?
38-35 Mountaineers.
I've gone similar. I've gone 3-point win. I've gone high scoring. I've gone 41-38.
You want a little more?
I think it's going to be more than that. These are 2 bad defenses, which is crazy because 3 games ago we were talking about how good our defense was.
Yeah.
But with the injuries and the way they're playing and giving up 300 yards on the ground last week, it's going to be a shootout. But I think we've gotten unlucky in the last 2 games. Well, unlucky against Houston. Oklahoma State, those big runs that we gave up at the end are just inexcusable.
Yeah.
But I think we can pull this one out. This is a team that hasn't won a game. I know they're going to be desperate for a win, and I know they played a close game against Houston. But playing a close game or against Oklahoma, but playing one close game against a good team doesn't mean you're suddenly good.
Yeah.
I mean, we nearly went and beat Oklahoma. Or was it Baylor? It was one of those Daggy years we were bad, and we went and we lost either Oklahoma or Baylor by like 3.
It was 4-seed Oklahoma when they had Rattler.
Yeah. And then we went to our next game, and we were still bad. So that doesn't mean anything. I think we win this week, and I think we can win this week. We have a winnable game at home against BYU. You win that, you're bowl eligible looking at the final stretch of your season. But you lose this game, then you start to worry if the wheels fell off.
It's tough. The dynamic has changed so much.
It's must-win time. It is absolutely must-win time.
It's tough.
Yeah. All right.
Let's move on from WV football.
Yeah.
You want to go basketball or do you want to go trade machine?
Let's go trade machine. Let's take a little break from the Mountaineers. Let's go trade machine. Okay. So the NFL trade deadline's around the corner. It is on Sunday? When is it? No, it's on the 31st, isn't it?
Tuesday?
I think it's on Tuesday. Yes, it's on Tuesday. There's a couple teams that are going to be looking to offload some of their assets, get a guy to go all in this year, and there's going to be other teams that are looking to sell off their players, start a rebuild. So these are trades that we want to see happen, trades that we think could happen. And you want to kick it off?
Yeah. I'm going to go Chase Young to the Jags for a 2nd and a 3rd round pick.
Wow.
It might be a little
cheap
for him, but he is very injury prone and he has not played a lot in his career. So there's kind of an unknown with him. He's been good when he's played, but the Jags kind of need a guy to pair with Josh Allen.
I'd love to see that trade. Just get Chase Young out of my division. I've been seeing trade rumors circulating around Chase Young that Washington's open to trading him. Would they want a first back for somebody they invested the number 2 overall pick in? Probably. But he was very good his rookie year, but he has not been at that level recently. He has been injury prone. I'd like to see that. I'd argue maybe they'd push for a first. I don't know if you're Jacksonville if you give up a first. I reckon if you're Washington, you take a first.
Yeah.
But I like that trade. I think he fits well there. I think having a pass rush, especially at the NFL, is so valuable. You look at teams that struggle on defense, regardless of whether they have a good secondary, if they don't have good pass rushes, right? You can't get pressure on a quarterback. These guys are good enough to pick apart a defense if you give them all day. I think Jacksonville's at that stage now where they can start to make moves like that. They've still got the salary cap space to do it, unlike some other teams that we're going to discuss, because they're in the early stages of their kind of come up.
Yeah. Still,
right? I mean, they're not paying Trevor Lawrence a ton of money. Right, they're not paying Etienne a ton of money. They are paying Christian Kirk a load of money. I don't know how much they're paying Ridley. Probably whatever his last contract was.
I think 12 million?
Yeah, they're paying Christian Kirk a ton.
Yeah, Christian Kirk's getting like $24 million a year.
Which he's partially played up to be fair to him.
Yeah.
But they are paying him a ton.
Should I get into my second one?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I have Chigoziem Okonkwo.
Wow, really?
Los Angeles Chargers.
As a rookie? Is he not a rookie?
No.
Oh, I thought he was for some reason.
He's like 3rd year.
Really? I thought he was a...
Chigoziem Okonkwo to the Chargers for Donald Parham and a 4th.
Why did I think for Donald Parham and a 4th? You think he's that much better than Donald Parham? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, like substantially.
Yeah, he is. I don't know why I thought he was drafted 2022. Wait, what? He was drafted 2022.
He's not a rookie.
Vegas. No, he's not a rookie. He's a 2nd year.
Yeah.
He's a 2nd year guy.
He played really good last year, though.
He's a 2nd year guy.
For the Titans, you get a guy in Donald Parham who is 6'7", 6'8", who can block. for a very run-heavy team. Chickasee Okonkwo is a speed guy, and he'll just give you another target in that very, very, very explosive Chargers offense. And the Chargers have kind of been underwhelming, so they probably, I would not doubt to see a trade, whether it be something on defense or getting another offensive weapon.
So I'm just scrolling through the draft. Dallas Cowboys draft class this year was so bad. Mozzie Smith and Luke Schoonmaker, just horrible. Anyway, give Herbert another weapon. I like it. Give them a legit tight end. When was the last time they had a legit? I mean, have they had anybody good since Gates? They have.
Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry was there.
He was solid.
Yeah, and I think tight ends get underutilized in the NFL and in college. The way that they can create mismatches, especially if you have some guy that gets faster, lined up with one of those linebackers that is not going to keep up with them.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. You want to go to mine?
Sure.
I would like to see Derrick Henry get traded to the Baltimore Ravens.
Really?
I would. I'd like to, I think the Titans are at the point now where it seems like they want to blow up their roster. I think they want to get rid of Henry. I think they want to get rid of... They just got rid of Byard. And I don't think he'd be expensive to do. I don't think he'd take a first at his age, at his position.
What do you take for him? A third? A second?
Definitely a second. And maybe even a second and a future second. Or it would definitely be a second plus some more picks, whether they're now or future.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to go to a first round for him. I understand that he is the backbone of the Titans offense right now. Everything runs through him. But I think that we've seen Spears start to cut into his run share. And I think that the Titans are preparing for the fact that after this year, he's probably not going to be the guy that he was.
Yeah.
Just with his position, his wear and tear, and his age. But if you're the Ravens, I think you like it a lot.
Yeah.
I think you look for somebody that's just a big dominant back. I mean, they've struggled with running back injuries forever now. I'm curious what their cap situation is. I'm not sure.
The Ravens?
Yeah, and obviously they need receivers as much as they need running backs, but I'd like to see Derrick Henry get traded to the Ravens, and I think you only have to go up a second and future picks or current later round picks to do it. I don't think you have to go first for it.
They have $6 million.
And that's not a slight on Derrick Henry. You probably have to make some cap room, but that's not a slight on Derrick Henry.
Who's some guys?
That's all dead money. Ugh.
They have a lot of dead money.
They do have some dead money. They're still paying $2.4 in Calais Campbell.
3.3 to Nick Boyle is crazy.
That is crazy. Here's my one that I'm more skeptical on. Dallas does not have tons of cap, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, they still have Trayvon Diggs to pay. They still have Michael Parsons to pay. In a few years, they'll probably have Tyler Smith to pay. They need a final linebacker. They could probably use a pass rusher. But if they think they can pay him, they need to trade a first, probably a later round, and a future second for Pat Surtain.
I like that.
I think that is a move that you simply have to make. I know that there's issues on the offense. They could probably use a receiver. They could probably use a running back. But if they think they can pay Surtain,
probably use a quarterback too.
If they think they can pay Surtain, then I think you give up whatever it takes to get him. Now, if you think that you can't pay him after this season, or you think that you're going to have to trade him to be able to pay Diggs, or you think that you're not going to be able to pay Diggs because of it, I don't think you make the trade. Right? Because you're going to have to give up first-rounders. And I don't think you give up first-rounders for somebody that's only going to be around for a year.
Yeah.
Or, consequently, if you keep him and trade Diggs, I mean, you can argue who's better out of the two. Surtain's probably better. But I don't think you trade a first-round pick to upgrade Diggs to Surtain if that's your long-term play.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that first-round pick as a different first-round player at another position.
And, I mean, Gilmore's getting up there.
But
Gilmore's not going to be around
Gilmore,
either.
Gilmore can't really be the one. Deron Bland can't really be the one.
No,
so it helps you this season.
No Igbenogany for sure.
Realistically, they have this season, and if they somehow hold on to Dan Quinn next season, I think first of all, what a secondary that would be if you had Diggs and Surtain. But also this season, I think it solves some of your secondary issues that they've had since the loss of Diggs.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see Dallas make a move. If they don't go after Surtain, I mean, you can make a call and see what they're asking for Judy. I don't think you have to give up much for him. He hasn't been good.
Yeah.
But, I'd be willing to trade a third for him. I don't know if the Broncos would take it, but I'd be willing to give a third or fourth for him.
I'd take a third for Judy.
Yeah. All right, so that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Henry go to the Ravens. I'd like to see Surtain go to Dallas. I'd like to see some trades get made. I'm very curious to see what happens with the Titans and the Broncos. I think both of them are going to blow their rosters up. And
you think that includes Ryan Tannehill and Russ?
Not Russ. No one's going to take on his contract. He hasn't even been bad this year. He
That's
really
true.
hasn't.
Yeah, he's had better numbers than like Mahomes.
Yeah,
and...
I just think I think you blow it up, you keep Russ, and you just eat his cap in the years where you're kind of tanking. Eat his cap while you still can. And then when he's gone, hopefully the rookies that you've drafted in that span are coming into their own. And as soon as you lose that cap off him, you can pay those guys. Titans, I also think are going to blow up their roster. I think that does include Tannehill. Although, once again, with his contract, I don't know who's going to eat it. But Henry probably goes. They just don't have a lot of assets to even trade. Like, the Broncos have players to trade. They have Judy. They have maybe Sutton. They have Surtain. I don't know who the Titans have to blow up to trade.
D-Hop.
D-Hop, yeah, but D-Hop could go. I don't know why D-Hop signed with him. It was stupid to sign with him.
Who else? Okay, you got Tannehill, D-Hop,
yeah.
Henry.
So
Does Taylor Lewan still play for them, or did he retire?
Yeah, I don't know how much trade value you're getting out of him if he still does play. What am I looking for? I had some shit saved. Anyways, yeah, that's my sort of thought on it. Yeah, all right. Well, we can do once we get into the season a little bit, we can run that back with NBA trade machine.
Yep. You want to finish off with some SunnySide Sportsbook?
We'll do some sports books, and then we'll briefly go over what we want to watch today for the basketball game. Okay, you can start with sportsbook.
So, 2 props for this weekend. Both college football. Both some big teams. I have Tennessee over Kentucky, minus 176.
Okay.
It's in Kentucky.
All right, you got Tennessee over Kentucky?
Yep.
At UK,
At
money
UK,
line?
Money line.
What's the money line on it?
Minus 176.
And
then I have Oklahoma.
Wait, so are UK favored? Where?
No.
Tennessee's
Tennessee
favored. Okay, yeah, I was about to say. I was like, what? No, you're right. Yeah, okay.
Then I have Oklahoma over Kansas to cover 9.5. That's minus 112. Kansas has not looked good. Jalen Daniels isn't coming back. It's not looking like.
Wow, even after that close game with UCF, though, you think they're going to pull away from Kansas?
Yeah. I think they kind of rope it back in. They got comfortable after the Texas win. Then this happens. I think they rope it back in, dial it back in. I think they win by 2 touchdowns or more at Kansas.
Huh. All right. Well, I'm going to go into mine. Tomorrow morning's El Clasico. So I'm going to bet the over-under on 3 goals. Barcelona's defense is shaky this season, and Madrid have been scoring goals like crazy. I think there's a chance Barcelona go in and win 1-2-0. But they've been giving up goals. I think the over-under. So the over-under is 2.5 goals.
Yeah.
So I'm hitting the over on that. I think there's going to be 3 goals at least tomorrow morning. And then I'm going NFL. I'm going to go Chiefs to cover against the Broncos. The line's 7.
Oh.
Chiefs have been playing their best football, best regular season football we've seen in a while. Their offense is clicking. Rashee Rice is coming to his own. Travis Kelce's having the time of his life. This is a Broncos defense that gave up 70 points.
Yeah.
I think that they cover against Broncos. I'm surprised that line's not more. I really am. So I'm going to go Kansas City to cover, and I'm going to go over on the 2.5 goals for El Clasico tomorrow.
I like that.
And hopefully build my lead up a little bit more. And, yeah.
So I think that's pretty much it for this episode.
All right. Well, briefly, I'm gonna give a
basketball.
So, tonight's the game against George Mason. We've had a very, very hectic,
strange
off season. I guess I'll kind of go over what happened. Tell you what our roster is right now, and I'm going to ask you, Landon, what you are looking to see tonight. Okay.
Okay.
So, let's go back about halfway through last season. Jose Perez comes in from Manhattan, early in the season, and his waiver's denied by the NCAA.
Yeah.
He left Manhattan because about a game or maybe a few days before the season, his coach got fired. His coach either got fired or he left. So he transferred out, and the Manhattan AD wouldn't sign off on his waiver or whatever. So the NCAA denied it. In response to that, the NCAA changed their rule, and this is key in a minute, so that if your coach leaves, you have a 30-day window to transfer. Around the same time, Silverio's transfer gets announced. Later in the season, Silverio's transfer. Omar Silverio, Jose Perez's friend from Manhattan, transfers in. Season ends, lost to Maryland. So, the basketball team needs to replace Keedy Johnson, Emmett Matthews, and Eric Stevenson all graduated. Jimmy Bell and Josiah Davis hit the transfer portal. You got 5 spots to replace. April is Huggins' month. Huggins truck. He lands Kirk Kriisa on April 6th. He lands Jesse Edwards on April 16th. And he lands Raekwon Battle on April 26th. Round out that roster. So, at this moment, we're looking at a team of Kirk Kriisa, Jose Perez, Raekwon Battle, Jesse Edwards, Trey Mitchell. That's your starting 5.
Yeah.
Damn good starting 5. We miss out on a few extra transfers to round it out. We didn't get John Hugley from Pitt. We didn't get Caleb Grill from Iowa State. April 26th, give it about a week. May 8th, Bob Huggins goes on air at a Cincinnati radio station and makes a homophobic comment towards Xavier fans. He receives a 3-game suspension, mandatory sensitivity training, and restructures his contract. The way his contract was restructured implied that he could leave at the end of any year. So there was a chance that this would be his final season. June 17th, a month later, Huggins is arrested in Pittsburgh on a DUI charge. He resigns. A few days later, he claims that he never resigned and that he was pursuing legal action. I have not heard anything else about that. But Huggins will be going on a radio show soon, and I'm sure he'll talk about it. Allegedly, since that incident, he has not had a drink. He looked good at TBT. He looked healthier. But he is no longer the coach. Now, Jose Perez, Joe Toussaint, Trey Mitchell, Kirk Kriisa, Mo Waggy, and James Okonkwo enter the transfer portal. Right there, 6 guys out the door.
Yeah.
They spent... A.D. Baker spends about a week and a half deciding what to do. The name John Beilein got floated around, but they settled on naming Josh Eilert, the assistant coach, as as the interim coach. In response to him being named, Jose Perez and Kirk Kriisa both decide to exit the transfer portal. Battle and Edwards say that they're staying. We lose Toussaint, we lose Mitchell, we lose Waggy, we lose Okonkwo. So now you have another 4 spots open. So, Eilert got to work. We added Jeremiah Brimby from Florida State. We added Quinn Slazinski from St. John's. We added Akok from Georgetown. But he was friends with Jose Perez. Jose Perez is key in getting all of these guys. The recruit Ofri Nave from Israel. And they get Ali Ragab on a walk-on. So, we rebuilt the roster, ready for the season. Still not over, because about a month ago, Jose Perez is dismissed from the team for academic reasons. Apparently, he was not going to study hall. So he got kicked off the team. And just this week, Raekwon Battle's waiver was denied. So now, the roster's thin. And as Eilert said at the press conference, we don't have the size and we don't have the depth that a lot of other Big 12 teams have. Starting lineup's probably going to be Kirk Kriisa, Seth Wilson, Josiah Harris, Akok, and Akok. I don't actually know how you say his name. And Jesse Edwards. What do you want to see tonight? That is one roller coaster of an offseason. But it's almost an entirely new team. And there is still a chance Battle joins at some point, but I would not hang your head on it. Our AG, Patrick Morrissey, Governor Jim Justice are both pursuing action to try and get it resolved.
Whatever that means.
It worked for UNC, but I don't know. What do you want to see tonight? There's a lot.
I want to see 2013 Lob City Clippers in Morgantown. I want to see Jesse Edwards absolutely destroy George Mason and put 45 points on them in the name of charity.
Yeah, I want to see. I really, really want to see. And it just sucks that we're not going to see Perez and Battle, who are two talented players, running with this team. But I think our offense is going to look very different than it did last year because Kirk Reese is pulling the strings. He's not a scorer like Keedy was. Like, Keedy was a good passer, and when he was the point guard, the offense moved the ball better, but he was also a really good scorer last year. Kirk Reese is not that. Kirk Reese is a facilitator. He's going to push the pace of the game.
I think we're going to see a lot of pick and roll, a lot of reading zone defenses, making good passes, a lot of rotation. Like, when I say rotation, I mean the big going from the perimeter to the paint, setting screens, getting guys open, a lot of motion offense. I think we'll see a lot of that, and honestly, I'm kind of excited to see something other than an offense that has kind of been stagnant under Huggins in recent years.
Yeah, our offensive identity has not been good for a while now. It wasn't good when we were good. In the Javon Carter years, the offense wasn't elite. It was very ISO heavy. It was very stagnant at times. I think it improved last year, and I think part of that was firing Larry Harrison. Kind of tell Huggs, pick it up, or you might be out the door too.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Jesse Edwards. I'm excited to see Kirk Reese. I'd say the one other thing I'm really interested to see is the three guys who stayed throughout all of this. There are three guys who are returning from last year's team. Josiah Harris, Kobe Johnson, and Seth Wilson. I think there's a very good chance that we'll see complete versions of all three of those players.
I'd agree.
Kobe Johnson went back at some critics last year who were calling him out for his poor offense, saying that he scored or shot a lot in high school and that he just was hurt or something along those lines, which is why he wasn't shooting. If Kobe Johnson can make a Keedy Johnson jump, where Keedy was a very good defensive player who just couldn't score the ball, to go score the ball, I reckon he'll get a lot of minutes. Seth Wilson, I'd like to see him creating his own shots. He's a very good catch-and-shoot guy, but he was a little all over the place, and his defense wasn't great. And Josiah Harris, people have been raving about this kid since he got here. He's already graduated.
Yeah.
Academic weapon.
He's our age, and he's already graduated.
Yeah, he's already working on his master's.
I've actually played basketball against him before.
Yeah. So I'd love to see him make a jump. So I'd say I'm most excited to see how Kirk Reese changes the offense, and I'm most excited to see how our three, and they're going to become fan favorites right away, especially if they play well, for staying here the whole time.
Yeah.
Throughout all of it. And, I'm just excited to see how it goes. I'm also intrigued by Quinn Slazinski from St. John's. He's in all the promotional stuff. I know nothing about him.
I don't know anything
He
about
doesn't
him.
look like he'd be very good.
He looks like me if I was 8 inches
taller. He looks like he's not going to be any good. But obviously he must be because Patino wanted him.
Yeah.
And then Eilert wanted him. So clearly he's not bad.
Is Patino still Iona, or did he?
I think he was an Iona. I could be completely wrong, but I think Slazinski was a guy with him at Iona, and then left with him for St. John's, and then left St. John's to come here because I think St. John's got some people to play his position. Let me just look that up. Quinn Slazinski. Also, I'm surprised he's eligible. Shouldn't he? He was an Iona guy who went to St. John's, so he technically be a 2-time transfer, but he never played for St. John's. He went this year and then got there, and I think he got his job taken, so he came here. Rimby and Neve, I don't think we'll see too much of. They're both essentially freshmen.
Yeah.
Ragab is a walk-on who averaged 3 points a game at Gannon, but he's 7'2", so I mean we don't have a backup center.
I think
we're
we
a very
might see a lot of
team,
small ball.
so we might see him. Yeah, and that's almost gonna be a necessity. So, yeah, it sucks we'll never get to see what this team would have looked like in their full form with Perez and with Battle,
and with Wagi, and with Okonkwo.
Well, yeah,
and with
or the old
Toussaint.
version of the team that, not Okonkwo and Klaczynski and Brimby and Neve, but the old version of the team that would have been those three guys plus Trey Mitchell and Toussaint. Because I think that team would have been a high seed and a wild card shot in the tournament. Right now, without Battle, I don't think this team makes the tournament. This might be a team that lifts an NIT banner, quite frankly. Which, honestly, given the fact that we haven't had much to celebrate,
I'll take it.
If we were to miss the tournament but win the NIT, I would not be that upset. But, this is a team that could sneak into the tournament backdoor, but we're in the hardest basketball conference that just got harder. It's not like last year there was no easy game in the Big 12. There will be easy games. Cincinnati, BYU, UCF will be easy games, but we now have to play Houston. We're still playing Oklahoma and Texas. So, it's a gauntlet schedule. We don't have the depth. We don't have the size. If Battle gets deemed eligible, I think this is a tournament team. He was somebody who's going to be your primary scorer, who you can expect to score 15, 16 points a night. We'll see. I'm excited for today, though. I'm excited to see them play.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to end it there. Good episode to get back. Got into a lot of different things. I think we've talked about the most different topics we have on this show yet.
Yeah.
We'll start getting into some NBA.
Oh yeah, NBA regular season just started off. Big game from Dame last night in the Bucks. I was very curious to see how he was going to fit in, but it looks to be a really good fit there so far. Westbrook had a good game.
Double from Westbrook.
Yeah, so we'll get into some NBA as well, and touch on some basketball stuff. We're going to get our sportsbook posted up once I actually add up the tallies of what everyone's scores are. Get those Blue Line interviews out at some point. And, we got some cool stuff coming.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. Tune in whenever we go live. Presumably next week.
Yeah, we should be live next Friday.
Just keep an eye on our socials. We'll see you next time.